Hello and welcome to Movie Mayhem. Today we're doing another installment in the director series for Ruggero Deodato. The director series, bear in mind the idea of that is to eventually review every film that director has made. I'll make some exceptions if it's like a TV series or maybe a TV movie that I can't find any possible translation of, or in the case of someone like Bruno Mattei, where there's at least 4 films I know that were made that that have never been released. I actually found out how to buy the rights to the film if I wanted to release them, but I'm not gonna do that. That's a little over the top. So today's film is Deodato's The Barbarians from 1987. You probably saw this in a video store, and this is an interesting one because I swear I saw it, but I don't remember the movie. And again, when you're talking to different people, if you're watching movies with your friends or whatnot, convincing them to watch weird, obscure movies is not always the easiest task. So it can take some time to get through these. So I just rewatched this, or watched it for the first time. Again, I'm struggling to understand that. And that was pretty cool coming back into it because I wasn't really sure what to expect. Most of you know Deodato from Cannibal Holocaust. And, you know, he has that reputation of being a gore meister, an exploitation master, etc. And honestly, with him, I find that to be completely untrue. It's just not true. That one film had some extreme brutally, very brutal gore, but it reflected his directorial style with that type of film. He's not really that type of director. He's a solid, very good film director, in my opinion. I mean, all of the films, every one of his films I've watched, I thoroughly enjoy. Even, Waves of Lust? That's a great romance film. I mean, he's just not, that's not who Deodato is. So I think it's important going in, you understand that he's a very versatile director. This was a $4 million budget film for 1987. That's quite a lot of money. Golan Globus, who, did a lot of actually really cool films. Cannon Group released most of their films, and the infamous Superman 4. However, the budget shows he used that money on that movie. And that genre in particular, the sword and sorcery fantasy genre, really only existed for a brief blip of time in the 80s. We got Lord of the Rings, recently, but that was Lord of the Rings. What else did you get? In the Name of the King? I wouldn't count that. That's just a piece of junk movie. Really, that type of film, for some reason, only exists and only works out of that era. So this was written by James Silk. And that is kind of important to me because he wrote the Death Dealer book series, or Ghost wrote with Frazetta. And I love those books. I think they're really cool. We're not talking, anything deep, but they're really good novels. And that's the only books he ever wrote. He also wrote a few screenplays for Golan Globus, the Ninja series with Shokasugi and King Solomon Mines and a couple others. And that's the guy's entire career, which is a bit odd. And I apparently like his writing, so I'm surprised he didn't get anything else after that. The movie stars the Paul brothers, just totally jacked dudes. If you see a poster or anything else, these guys are huge. My guess is this was an idea to kind of kick off them as being stars and maybe make franchises out of their characters. Honestly, they're pretty good. I mean, they're funny. They have enough charisma to carry the story and act as barbarians. So, a little bit about the story. It starts out with a caravan of people, let's call them a micro-kingdom, where they have, a queen, and they get attacked by some raiders, and the evil overlord, kills a couple and takes 2 twins, which the queen, says, if you save them, I'll do whatever you want. So that's our twins that eventually grow up to become the Barbarian brothers. And what's pretty cool about that, too, is they're little kids, and all of a sudden they're just gigantic, huge dudes. So you could say, okay, maybe they were like 8 or 9, and they're like 20 now? Maybe. I mean, at the bare bare minimum would be 10 years older, but nobody else in the film aged at all. So that's kind of funny. And I get it. I mean, it would be so time consuming and costly to have done that. It really doesn't make any sense. Our bad guy is, I forget his name now. He's also in The Sword and the Sorceress. You know, he plays it up. He's a great fantasy style villain doing the moo-ha-ha. China, the evil sorceress, interestingly, she actually posted on IMDb mocking herself. It's the only movie she ever did. She apparently thought her acting was absolutely horrible. I don't think it was that bad. I mean, what do you want from these type of films, right? I thought she did good. She's like the magic user of the evil side. So the two barbarians, you know, they eventually escape their bondage and run around on adventures trying to find. They want to free the queen, who's like their adoptive mother, essentially, and they need to find a ruby. So they go on a quest to find the ruby. They encounter this one girl who you'll probably remember. She was lost during the beginning of the film, and now she's grown up. It's Eva LaRue. If you don't know who she is, she's been in a bazillion TV shows, so you've definitely seen her. This is fairly early on in her career, and a lot of really pretty actresses are spread throughout this film, even if they don't talk. So they meet up with her and go on adventures. So very much in the vein of like a Conan the Destroyer type of, a lot more lighthearted. There is some pretty brutal fight scenes, and like the whole opening sequence where the caravans are running, giant wide shots with the horses and some great battle scenes with some good gore effects, practical gore effects from the maces hitting people's swords. Really cool. They have a scene where they go into this like ancient area looking for the ruby, and they fight a couple monsters. Some cool gore effects there. One thing just doesn't make sense. There's a wolf man, and I could not grasp the concept of the wolf man. He was stalking them, and then he jumps out like, hey, like a piece, like the ninja in pieces. It was that out of like, why is he jumping out now? And the Barbarian brothers pretty much just flex a lot, and they have some cool play between them, like with sibling rivalry, which works in the context of the film and is pretty funny. There's not a lot of, there's really no on-screen sex in the film, so it's actually pretty tame. I kind of thought this would have been more of a hard R type of film, but not really. There's like two shots where you can kind of see breasts, and you really can't. So it's almost a PG, not PG, but because of the violence, but very tame film. That really, I could have watched as a kid and it would have been, completely out there. The monster effects, of course, you're dealing with practical effects of the era, not the best, but the dragon is pretty awesome. So first, it's a giant. They had to have done it on purpose. It's a giant, it looks like a dog's penis unsheathing when it attacks. And I'm not joking. Watch it. That's what it is, man. Why would you do that? So that was pretty funny. And the dragon has eyebrows, which are just, so yeah, that part kind of takes you out, and I was just laughing. But the movie's still good. Don't get me wrong. It's not necessarily a so bad it's good movie. It's a good movie with some parts that are so bad that they're absolutely hilarious. So they go back, there's a pretty cool fight scene with the barbarians and the big evil guy. I thought they did a great job of that. It was, definitely kept me captivated. Music is also really solid. The score worked well in the film throughout. The wide shots, very pretty. It felt like I was in that era, in that time. I would recommend it, honestly. If you like sword and sorcery movies, this is definitely a hidden gem because there's not many out there. And most of them go into that, Deathstalker territory where they're just crap. Like, they're really just bad movies. They're not they're not so bad they're good, they're just bad. So this is not one of those. This is actually it's a well-made film. You could tell, Deodato's dealing probably with some language barriers, which I know he had some issues on Cannibal Holocaust with it as well. It's mostly brand new actors across the board. I mean, if you look at their resumes, only a couple of people even, have a resume, so to speak of. Knowing Golden Globus, this was a very short schedule to film, and it's a pretty cool fantasy script. Nothing that's going to blow your mind, but it's kind of cool to see something like that isn't Conan. And honestly, I would have liked to see. I could have seen more with those guys. They're just freaking jacked, man. Seriously, those guys are massive. They can't really do like the armor very well, and when they do the fight scenes, this is one knock I can give it. The swordplay with them is kind of crap because they're just slow. I mean, and I get it. They're not. Their bodies and their training do not help them in that way. That's not what they're there for. They're supposed to just look like uber badasses, and they do. It's a fun film. Absolutely, I would recommend checking this out. I don't believe the version I had was one of the best prints from the German DVD release, and that was pretty high quality. Hunt down a good copy of it and check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. So let me know some other stuff you want to see me review, and be sure to like, subscribe, check out Patreon, and we'll see you here next time at Movie Mayhem.